Welcome to the Beginner Bag Maker Bootcamp as we go on this exciting new adventure together. If you are completely new to sewing and bag making, you're in the right place. In our first lesson, we will start by choosing the right sewing machine and learning how to set it up for success. The right machine can make a big impact in your sewing experience, so this is very important. So let's get started and get those machines going. So now let's talk about choosing the right sewing machine. When it comes to sewing machines, all you really need is a good motor and a strong feeding mechanism. Having more bells and whistles does not equate to a better machine. So you just need one that's simple, but still a really good quality. One of my very first machines I got from Walmart, and it's such a good machine. I still have it and use it till this day, and it's a great machine. So we're going to be using that machine in the Beginner Bag Maker Bootcamp. So now that you have your machine, you want to go ahead and take it out of the box. Grab the manual. Yes, you have to read the manual. The manual is going to tell you how to thread your machine. It's going to give you all the parts and components of your machine, and it's very, very important. I know it could be intimidating to go through and read a whole manual, but you really just need it there when you need it. What I did when I first started sewing was I created a binder for all of my sewing material, and I would just keep the manual in the beginning of my binder. And so that way when I needed it, I could just go grab it quickly and then just look through some things and make sure I was doing things correctly. But I'm going to show you how to thread this little machine. If you did get this machine from Walmart, I'm going to show you how to thread this. I also have a video on YouTube on how to thread the machine in the back. This is also my favorite machine because it's very strong and tough, and it can go through thicker material. But for the sake of our Beginner Bag Maker Bootcamp, we're going to just work with this machine that I got from Walmart. So I do have a few different machines in my sewing room. I have the little blue machine that I used when I first started sewing. I still use it sometimes because it makes great stitches and is very reliable. The motor is not that strong, so it doesn't go through thick fabric a whole lot, but I still like this machine. And then this little brother machine is very strong, so it can go through leather and all sorts of other thicker materials when it comes to several layers of fabric. So I do love this machine for that reason. And then I also have this little machine. I have been teaching my two little nieces how to sew, and even though this little machine is not all that easy to work on, especially showing two little kids how to use it, it is a lot of fun and you can sew with it. So I have another sewing machine in my sewing room. This is can you guess what this is? I got it from Joann and it's super cute. My sister bought it for me. I just had to get it when I saw it. But her and my mom are really into feeding birds, and they have windows where they put a lot of bird feed out and cute little bird feeders. Just super cute. It was made like a sewing machine, so I had to get it. Even though I have not put it outside my window, I could put it outside right here because I do have a tree right here outside my sewing room, and it would be really nice to watch some pretty little birds feed off of the bird feed out of this little bird feeder. So I just thought it was cute. So even though I can't sew on it, it's one of my favorite sewing machines. So now let's get into how to thread this Brother 3817A sewing machine. So what we're going to do is grab our spool of thread and we're going to place it right on top of the spool pin, pull it all the way up, and then you want to make sure your thread is coming to the front of the thread. And then what we're going to do is, this is your thread guide back and this is the front of your thread guide. So what we're going to do is just make sure our thread is going through. There's a little hole inside of there, a little metal loop, and you just want to make sure that the thread is going through that little metal loop. So I'm going to see if I can take my camera and show you that little metal loop. So there's a little metal loop inside of this hole, and you just want to make sure your thread is going through this little metal loop here. And then this is the pre-tension disc, this little circle that's right here on the top of the sewing machine. We're going to just make sure that the thread is coming in the front of the pre-tension disc. And we're going to make sure that it's going around it and it's going to come back over to the front of the pre-tension disc. This is your thread guide front. So next thing we're going to do is just bring the thread through the thread guide, the front of the thread guide. So what I do is, even with nails, I just push the thread right under there and then I just pull it out. So that's really it. You just push it right through this little thread guide front. And then from there, we're just going to take it right underneath the upper tension control dial. So that's what this is. So this controls the tension of your upper thread, and we're gonna just place this thread right underneath the tension control dial. And then there's also, if you take your hand wheel on the side and make sure this little lever that's in this hole is all the way up, grab your thread and make sure it's going around the take up lever. Just make sure the thread is inside of this little, I don't know if you can see in there, but there's a little lever in there. There's a lever in there, and when you turn your hand wheel, the lever goes up and goes down. So what you want to do is make sure your thread is going around this little lever. Now that the thread is going through the take up lever, we're going to pull it all the way down and make sure it's going around the needle threader. There's a little gap underneath here that we want to make sure the thread is going in the back of. And then from there, now we're just going to put the end of the thread through the needle. I've done this so many times that yes, I can do it with nails. And then you just take your thread and you just put it to the back of your presser foot. So this is your presser foot, and you just want to make sure your thread is going through the back of it. Now when it comes to threading the bottom bobbin, we're going to do that as well. So what you want to do is take the bottom bobbin out. I do have thread on my bottom bobbin already, so I'm going to find one that's empty. And what I'm going to do is, we're going to leave this part connected, but I'm going to pull my thread from here. And we're going to come around the tension disc again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the thread through the hole that's on the top of the bobbin. So there's a hole on the top and the bottom. But if you have it facing the top, then we're going to put the thread through the top hole. And then once you get it through the top hole, we're going to put it on the bobbin binder. This is the bobbin binder shaft. And then what you want to do is push it to the right. So after you have it in position, then you can use your foot pedal and wind the bobbin. So now that we have the thread through the hole, I just turned it a little bit clockwise just to make sure it's on there secure. And then what I'm going to do now that it's in position, I pushed it all the way to the right, is I'm going to just use my foot pedal and start pressing, and it's going to start winding the bobbin. Now here you can go ahead and cut once it starts winding. And then once it's done, you can push it to the left and then take your bobbin off of it. Now let's go over the lower threading, and then you want to make sure that your thread is coming out to the left. So it's coming around the top of the bobbin and going to the left. And drop it right into the bobbin case down in the bottom of the sewing machine. So the thread is coming to the left side, right around the top of the bobbin, and we're just going to drop it into the bobbin case down there. And then there's a little slit that's right here, a little metal slit right in the front. You want to make sure that your thread is going right underneath that little metal slit that's in there. So just make sure it's going underneath that little slit. And then once it's going underneath, you just take it and go around this little cutter right here. And then you can just pull off the excess. And now you can just use your cover, your bobbin cover, and push it and cover it back up. So you do this so many times that you'll become a pro at it. It'll be like second nature. You just put your thread on the spool pin. Put the thread right underneath the hole in this little loop. Underneath your tension disc. Your thread guide front. Come right underneath your thread guide front, pull your thread, go under your tension wheel, right into the lever, come down into your needle threader, and then go right through your needle. So that was it, done quickly. And like I said, you'll do it so many times, and then right through your presser foot. Guys, so now you have your machine and it's threaded. Now we can get into the fun part, sewing.